All day, the iron wheels go onward, as if fate in each were stark, and the children's souls, which go disculling sunward, spin on blindly in the dark.
Youth clubs form an intricate patchwork that make up the bedrock of modern Britain. They played a crucial role before the founding of the welfare state and have quietly helped shape British society over 3 centuries. The youth club movement can trace its roots back to the social and political movements of the 19th century, which emerged in response to the Industrial Revolution. Victorian London was the epicentre of the revolution, which inflamed problems in urban communities. There were thousands of homeless children in London whose health and chances in life had faded by the industrial work. Residential homes and clubs emerged to help young people thrive. The public school and university missions expanded on the ragged school system and were part of a wider movement to tackle poverty and inequality. In 1866, the St Andrew's Home and Club for Working Boys was founded by a religious brotherhood supported by a group of Victorian philanthropists in Market Street, Soho. It's now the oldest youth club in the world. It provided young working people with the opportunity to improve their lives in the trying circumstances of 19th century London.
Most of the early boys' clubs were either organised by the public schools at the time or by Oxbridge colleges. In the first category of public schools, Eton, Repton and Harrow set up clubs in different parts of London, Hackney Wick, in Bethnal Green, because most of the clubs were concentrated in those areas of London where there were huge concentrations of people. So that would have included Whitechapel, Stepney, Bermondsey in the south of the river, West Ham further out in the east. These were all the main centres of boys' clubs in those days. As far as the universities were concerned, some of the early providers were Mansfield College, Oxford, University College, Oxford, Keble College, Oxford.
To escape the pressures of industrial London, club members emigrated to various locations around the British Empire.
It was innovative, the idea of having a club for young people. And remember, you've only got to read Dickens at the time, where Dickens was a journalist, but he was nevertheless pointing out things which were pretty appalling. How children of a very young age were sent out to work, how they were selling matches or something on the streets. And the idea of facilities specifically dedicated to children was a novel one. And all credit to those original founders for having said that the young deserved time to play as well as to learn, and that this could be done outside school as well as in school, and the two would complement each other. It sounds rather a sort of old-fashioned concept, doing your bit, but it was absolutely clear amongst he and his friends that if you were lucky enough to have earned money, and he'd earned a lot of money as a lawyer, but coming from a Christian background, his father had been a vicar, he felt it was an absolutely essential responsibility.
Members visited the 4 corners of the world, having picked up ideas of adventure and self-belief at the club. Many old boys, such as Private W. Dupe, went as far afield as the British Raj, now India. He displayed an impressive spirit of ingenuity while stationed there with the British Army. In 1895, he used the club's newsletter The Chronicle, when stationed in Lucknow, to track down 3 members who were also stationed in India. Another member, Arthur Schultz, is recorded bursting through the club door in 1884, having returned from what was Anglo-Egyptian Sudan, proudly declaring another medal for the home. This was recorded in the Chronicle, which is one of the earliest examples of an in-house club magazine. This led to the advent of age-related boys' publications such as the Beano and Dandy. When walking through the streets of Port Said, George Biddulph, the founder of the club and a prominent Victorian banker, encountered a Mr. J. Tinsley, once a young member at St Andrews, who was stationed there with the Royal Marine Artillery. Another member went on to work at the Royal Mint. A boy from the 1960s, Barry Walsh, who has since forged successful careers in both business and as an author, credits St Andrews Club with providing him with a strong foundation.
Offered many things that sort of inspired you and challenged you. I mean, once people came in, you did what you wanted to do, but then the club would look to push you in other directions to see if you liked them. I'd never been camping. I'd never been to the theatre. They took us to the West End, and the great actor Sir John Neville had us round the back afterwards talking about what the theatre was like, what would you like, would any of you like to do it, etc., etc. I joined a debating contest, things like this that I wouldn't have dreamt of as a kid from a Pimlico street.
As society transformed after the two world wars, women became more and more prominent in boys' clubs, and we saw the advent of what was to become Britain's modern youth services. The Education Act of 1944 said all local councils must provide for young people, and following the Albemarle report, £28 million was spent between 1960 and 1968 on 3,000 building projects, and the modern youth club was born. Women were permitted to join St Andrews Club on its 100th anniversary in 1966. This state involvement waned in the 30 years following the 60s, and by the 1990s the youth sector faced greater cutbacks. However, with these challenges, a new, innovative and adaptive approach developed among the youth movement's workers and participants, which ensured its survival.
What is needed above all is a lot of enthusiastic helpers. You can't run football teams, you can't run other activities without qualified helpers. And goodness, that's asking a lot of people, but that's probably the priority. Dedicated staff. Goodness, we've been lucky with the staff we've had, the supporters, the trustees, the volunteers, and one of their jobs is raising money. But first is people, second is money.
Well, I think because of the ethos of this place, the building and the staff that work here, everyone is really a team. And when you walk through the door, whatever problems you have, they seem to just disappear. And you can come here and just be yourself, and you don't have to act a certain way. You can just come in and just be relaxed. It is a place that they can just leave all their worries that are going on out in the world and come in here and just be themselves. And I think that's very important for a young person, to be themselves.
As a young person, I always went to the local youth club, and we had a few local youth clubs I used to go to throughout different periods of my life. So I understand the difference they can make to young people and how important they are to have somewhere to go that's social and relaxed but also safe. So that's why I love this club, because it does that for this area.
There's one thing which goes right through my time at St Andrews, which is a highlight, which is the companionship and friendship. The sense that you belong to something that had been there a long time. But facilities don't make a youth club. It's the spirit that makes youth club.
These changes led youth clubs like St Andrews to seek funds from the private sector and drove innovation in the youth movement. But in the 21st century, youth provision, while still an essential service, faces an uncertain future. The promise of social enrichment and community cohesion is more important now than ever. But if we're to continue this great British tradition, all Britons may want to think of how we can continue the legacy into the 21st century.
It's always been something that it's not a statutory requirement to provide youth provision, as it is a school, and each, say, local authority has to choose what's best for their young people. And our local authority has made decisions which have affected the money and the resources that clubs have at their disposal. And as over the years we've had to look after ourselves. And now that's what we do completely. Money has to be top of the list, as it is with every charity, not just youth charities, because you just can't run without money. If you can't open the door and turn the lights on. A great number of companies, institutions and individuals that without whom the club wouldn't exist.
Not facilities that keeps them members of the club and that they remember. They don't remember when they're adults. God, we had a wonderful gym. God, we had this. God, we had a terrific minibus. They remember who they met there. But facilities don't make a youth club. It's the spirit that makes youth club.